2 years after Emily Carter vanished, the town of Brookhaven had learned to live with unanswered questions. Her smiling face still lingered on a sun-faded poster beside the old bridge, a silent reminder of a night no one could ever explain. But on a quiet Saturday morning, a local hunter named David Rowe packed his gear and his new drone, hoping to capture footage of deer near the abandoned Riverside Industrial Zone, a stretch of forgotten warehouses and rusted fences long claimed by weeds and silence. As his drone rose into the pale November sky, David guided it over cracked asphalt and skeletal trees. Everything looked ordinary, until the camera caught something strange. At first, it appeared to be a shape half buried under soil, just beyond a collapsed section of concrete near the drainage canal. The sun reflected off a piece of metal nearby, the glint of something man-made. David zoomed in, expecting old scrap or debris. But what he saw next made his blood run cold. The outline beneath the dirt was unmistakable, human-sized, motionless, preserved by time and neglect. And beside it, the small, corroded frame of a collar with a dog tag, catching the light as the drone hovered above. David's hands trembled. He steadied the controls, recorded the coordinates, and whispered, "Oh my God, it's her." Minutes later, his voice shook as he called the sheriff's office. Within hours, the site was swarming with investigators. Yellow tape fluttering, cameras flashing, the low murmur of disbelief echoing across the forgotten lot. And as news crews gathered, one sentence would travel through Brookhaven faster than anyone could comprehend. "They think they've found Emily Carter." This was the moment that reopened every wound her family tried to close. But before that day, before the haunting discovery and the drone's silent revelation, there was Emily, alive, laughing, and walking her golden retriever down the street she never came back from. 2 years before the discovery, Emily Carter was 21. She was the kind of girl everyone in Brookhaven seemed to know, not because she wanted attention, but because she carried light wherever she went. She was a psychology major at the local college, balancing coursework, a part-time cafe job, and her closest companion, her golden retriever, Milo. Her parents, Laura and Tom Carter, described her as gentle but stubborn, kind but fearless. Every evening after her classes, she'd walk Milo through their quiet neighborhood, a row of maple-lined streets that glowed orange in the setting sun. She always followed the same route, turning left at Maple Drive, then circling past the old Riverside Industrial Lot, a place most locals avoided. But Emily wasn't afraid. She said the open road and the sound of Milo's leash jingling helped her clear her mind. That night, September 17th, 2022, began like any other. She texted her best friend, Jenna, around 7:42 p.m. "Taking Milo out before dinner. Be home soon." Jenna responded with a heart emoji. It was the last message Emily ever sent. The following morning, Laura noticed Emily's bedroom door still closed. Her car keys were on the counter. Her phone charger still plugged in. And then she noticed something else. Milo's leash was gone, but Milo wasn't in the house. "Tom," she called out, "Emily's not home." Her husband tried to stay calm. "She probably stayed over at Jenna's again." But Laura shook her head. "Her car's here, Tom." That was when fear crept in, quiet at first, then all-consuming. They called Jenna. She hadn't heard from Emily since last night. By 10 a.m., the Carters were retracing Emily's usual walking route. A mile from their home, near the fenced border of the Riverside Industrial Lot, they found Milo, trembling, his paws muddy, his leash snapped in half. He was whining and pacing near a drainage ditch, refusing to move from the spot. Something had happened there. Police arrived within hours, combing the area, bringing dogs, drones, and flashlights. But there were no signs of struggle, no blood, no footprints, no phone. It was as if Emily had been swallowed by the night itself. In the days that followed, the search grew into something the entire county joined. Volunteers gathered at dawn with flashlights and hope. Flyers with Emily's face covered every lamppost. "We won't stop until she's home," her father said to a reporter. But as weeks turned to months, hope became exhaustion. And exhaustion turned to silence. The only clue, the only living witness, was Milo, who spent nights at the front door, whining softly, waiting for footsteps that never came. 2 years later, when the hunter's drone hovered over that same drainage lot, it would return to the exact place where Milo had stopped. The exact place the Carters had stood in 2022, searching, begging, praying. No one knew it then, but the answers had been buried right there all along. The morning after Emily disappeared, Brookhaven no longer felt like the quiet town it used to be. Police cruisers lined the streets. Search dogs barked in the distance. Reporters hovered at every corner, their cameras waiting for answers no one could give. The Carters' home had become the epicenter of heartbreak, the place where volunteers met every morning to spread out maps, divide search zones, and return every evening exhausted, muddy, and silent. For days, Laura stood at the end of her driveway, calling out her daughter's name until her voice cracked. "Emily! Honey, please come home." But the woods, the roads, and the air stayed quiet. Detectives questioned everyone who had seen Emily that night. Her friend Jenna was cleared. She'd been home FaceTiming her sister. Several neighbors recalled seeing Emily walking Milo past Riverside Avenue around 8 p.m. One elderly man remembered a white pickup truck idling by the intersection near the industrial zone, engine running, lights dimmed. But no one caught the license plate. Authorities combed the abandoned warehouse area multiple times, but the overgrown lots, broken fencing, and piles of debris made searching difficult. No clothing, no phone, no purse. Nothing. Weeks stretched into months. The FBI joined the case briefly after local efforts ran dry. They searched nearby rivers, drained ponds, and even dug up sections of the drainage canal, but each lead collapsed into nothing. Milo's leash was analyzed. No prints. No blood. Just a clean tear, as if pulled apart by panic or fear. The story made national news for a few weeks. College student vanishes walking dog. Then, as always happens, the cameras moved on. By Christmas, Emily's name appeared on one of those unsolved cases lists, and Brookhaven quietly tried to forget. But her family never did. Laura spent nights scrolling through online forums, reading theories written by strangers. Some claimed Emily had been taken by someone she knew. Others said she'd run away. But Laura knew her daughter. She would never leave Milo. Her husband, Tom, grew quieter with each passing day. One night, she found him sitting alone in Emily's car, hands on the steering wheel, eyes shut. "I still hear her," he whispered. "When I close my eyes, I hear her call for help." They clung to hope, even when hope hurt more than the truth. By the time 2 years had passed, the case had gone cold. Detectives had rotated off. Volunteers moved on. The only ones who still visited the old industrial site were Laura and Milo, now older, slower, but still stopping at the same drainage ditch, sniffing the air as if searching for something the rest of the world had forgotten. Laura often said she could feel Emily there. She'd place flowers near the fence, whisper a prayer, and promise she'd never stop looking. And she kept that promise. Because 2 years later, on a gray November morning, a hunter named David Rowe launched his drone into the sky. The same drone that would glide silently over the weeds, past the rusted gates, and into the forgotten corner of Brookhaven's history, where the truth had waited beneath the dirt all along. The silence was about to break. And what that drone recorded would finally answer the question that had haunted Brookhaven for 2 years. What really happened to Emily Carter? When David Rowe's drone hovered over the edge of the Riverside Industrial Zone, he never imagined he'd uncover what detectives had missed for 2 long years. The area was marked as searched and cleared back in 2022, but time, weather, and human oversight had buried something important. The drone's camera captured a sinkhole, shallow but wide, formed near the collapsed drainage culvert. And just at the edge of that eroded patch, the outline of something unnatural, the faded blue of fabric, and beside it, the dull gleam of metal. David's heart pounded. He zoomed closer. There, half covered in mud, was a dog collar, the tag rusted, but the name still visible beneath the dirt. Milo. He froze. He'd seen that name before, on the missing person flyers that still clung to telephone poles across Brookhaven. He landed the drone immediately and called the sheriff's office. Within hours, yellow tape and flashing lights once again surrounded the forgotten property. Only this time, they wouldn't be leaving empty-handed. Excavators worked carefully, scooping through layers of soil until a detective shouted, "Stop! We've got something." The crowd fell silent. Beneath the earth, wrapped in decayed fabric and time, lay human remains, fragile, almost weightless. Beside them, a small piece of broken plastic, part of a smartphone case. When forensic teams arrived, it didn't take long. Dental records confirmed what everyone feared. It was Emily Carter. The next day, Brookhaven woke to sirens, cameras, and the sound of quiet crying. Laura and Tom stood behind the police barrier, holding each other as the coroner's van drove past. Laura pressed her hand to her chest, whispering through tears. She was right here all this time. Detectives determined that 2 years earlier, while walking Milo, Emily likely slipped down the embankment during rainfall near the drainage canal. The soft ground had collapsed beneath her. The industrial lot had been partially flooded that week, the same week she vanished. It was no abduction, no foul play, just a cruel twist of fate, hidden by earth and silence. The broken leash suggested Milo had tried to pull her out, but couldn't. And when he escaped the ditch, he waited by the road until someone found him. The news devastated everyone who'd prayed for a different ending. But for her family, at least the waiting was over. At her memorial, dozens gathered under the fading autumn sky. Photographs of Emily smiling with Milo surrounded the service. Her father stood before the crowd and said softly, "She didn't vanish. She was never gone. We just couldn't find her." Milo sat at his feet, quiet and still, as if he understood. 2 years of searching, countless nights of tears, endless questions. All ended with a single drone flight, one man, one quiet morning, and a discovery that finally brought peace to a family who had forgotten what peace felt like. Sometimes the truth hides in plain sight. Sometimes it waits for time, for light, for one pair of eyes to finally notice what everyone else overlooked. This is the story of Emily Carter, the young woman who went missing walking her dog, and how, 2 years later, a hunter's drone changed everything. If you were moved by Emily's story, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell, so you never miss another true story like this one. And most importantly, if you ever see a missing person poster, don't just walk past it. You might be the one who helps bring someone home.